What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Cool Colas here, and you are now tuning into a new video on my channel. But before we get into the topic for today, I would love if you did a few things. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, the share button, and the bell icon so you get notifications for whenever I come out with new content on this channel. And then when you are finished, leave me a comment below and I'll get back to it when this video is finished. For today's topic, I want to talk about something that I feel that the dominant society does that is very deceptive. But I also want to tell you all a story of something that I witnessed recently. I want to talk about how the dominant society loves to use having a disability as a way to excuse their acts of anti-black racism. So about a week or so ago, I was at this breakfast joint that was in Cornelius, North Carolina. So for those of you all who do not know where that's at, that's like northern Charlotte area, like the suburbs over by like the Lake Norman area. I walk into the restaurant, and just to paint the picture for you all, on the right hand side there was when I first walked in, there were a bunch of like tables where you could sit at, and it went all the way to the side of the restaurant, all the way into like the middle, more so going towards where the kitchen area was at. And then there were a bunch of booths that were all the way in the back. So I decided to sit at the table that was literally right next to the door when you first walk in. So that was on that right hand side. And then parallel to me, if I just look straight ahead, there was this white man, and he had to be somewhere, I want to say he was probably about between 50 to 60 years old. He was a heavy set white dude, and he was, eating his breakfast or waiting, whichever. I think he might have been waiting on his breakfast actually. And to the left of him, like more going outward, was a black woman, and she may have been about 3 or 4 booths down from him. So it was a little distance. And this black woman, she was kind of heavy set. She had to be somewhere between maybe like maybe her mid-30s if I had to guess, so maybe mid-30s. And so at one point I'm eating, and then I noticed that I hear, somebody speaking, and they're speaking rather loudly, not necessarily in a harsh tone, but just loudly, right? And it's the white man, and he's talking to the black woman, but he was talking loud enough that just about anybody in the restaurant could hear him. As a matter of fact, most of us actually turned our attention to him when he was actually speaking to the black woman, because he made it audible enough that everybody could listen in. And so what he basically in so many words was saying, ma'am, I just have to be honest, like that, I don't know if he said smacking or clicking sound. He either said smacking or clicking sound. Like that, it's just very annoying, and it's very bothersome to me. It's just like smack, 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 or click, click, click. He did one that like he was almost mocking the sound that the black woman was doing. And he said, can I just ask you to please stop doing that? That would definitely be helpful for me if you just stopped. And so then the black woman, when he did this, she responded in I was low-key feeling it. She responded in the coolest way. And she was like, sir, I've been here for 20 minutes pretty much, and I've just been eating, my breakfast, and respectfully, if it's something that bothers you that much, then there are other places that you can sit at. But, I've been sitting here minding my own business, and, and not even bothering you. And so then he just said, okay. Somebody kind of gives that condescending, okay, they're irritated because you're not going through with their request, but, they're not trying to put up a fuss, although they already put up a damn fuss. That's why you're in the situation in the first place. That he did one of them basically. And then it got back quiet again. Now, let me be clear too. Although he was audible, she wasn't very audible. I had to really, really listen in. So I witnessed all this before me while I was eating. So I wanted to kind of note a couple things, because I want to give context as to why I'm telling this story. First reason why I'm telling this story is because I actually posted about this on Threads recently, and it went, I would call it semi-viral. It got 1.2K likes. It got a whole bunch of comments as well too. And there were a lot of people who had a lot to say about this topic. So I wanted to first of all tell you all about that, and also I wanted to talk about some of the comments that I seen, or more so one that I saw that really just stuck out. The second reason why I brought this story up is because it's important for y'all to understand that this wasn't a thing of me being nosy and just seeing what was going to happen. Because you know how folks are, like, they'll try to spectate on situations when they see things go down, and they're trying to record and all this other shit because they love sensationalism and drama on the internet. That ain't me, fam. That is not me. The reason why I listened in is because I know in a lot of these situations that seem harmless, a lot of times they escalate, and it ends up being a thing where the police is called, and ultimately that turns into a thing where a black person is attacked. And what I was not going to be okay with was watching a black woman be attacked because she made a clicking or a smacking noise. That's ridiculous. But really, before I get into all of that, let me just give my initial reaction to what I thought about this. So I think that, when it comes to the white man, you ain't at the crib, bro. You are not at the crib. You are not at the crib where, like, you're with your family or your friends or, whoever, and you can tell them to kind of pipe down because you don't want to hear all that. You are in public, right? So when you are bold enough to go out and police somebody's behavior, then you should also understand that you may get a response that is not advantageous to what you would want. So I think that there was a level of boldness from what I observed, because the idea of even having the audacity to reach out to a stranger and tell them how they're annoying you and asking them to stop already shows that you think that this is okay, and this is something that you may have done maybe in the past as well too. And it's just ironic that it's happening with a white man and a black woman. The reason why I say that is because there's often this attitude by the dominant society that they can kind of police our behaviors, even if it's something that's a minor inconvenience. So it shows you the privilege, and it shows you this idea that they can kind of talk down to us, even if it's something that's minor. Because even if it was a request of, can you, be quiet and whatever the case may be, although that still was very bold, this man went on to kind of mock her as well too, as he was saying this to her. So he was actually lucky that she didn't fire off on him more. He's lucky that he didn't get some type of hot Cheeto hood rat who would have been cussing his ass out. He got a black woman who actually was relatively respectful with her response. And as a matter of fact, he even went up to her later. He was stumbling and hobbling along because this man was acting like he couldn't walk and shit. And he basically told her, like, certain noise. He kind of walked up to her. He said, "Ma'am, I wasn't trying to make a big scene, but I just certain noises just kind of get to me." And she kind of just stood her ground on her position, but she was polite about it, even the second time after he tried to put her on blast. So when I saw that, I was like, kudos to that woman for, you basically standing her ground. I definitely, support what she did. And I definitely thought that the way that she moved was something that was absolutely justified. And I thought that he was totally out of order for the way he went about it. But I need y'all to understand the reason why he did that. It was because there's a certain level of audacity in the dominant society a lot of times, and how they try to police black people, or how they believe black people should behave in their presence. And just think about like just little stuff like you'll be in a grocery store, and then you'll be like in the aisle, and I see this all the time, and then a white person, literally, if you're like somewhat in the way and you're looking at something, you're not paying attention to them, they'll literally stand there and wait for you to move out of their way instead of simply just saying excuse me so they can get past you. So they have like an attitude of doing that type of shit. Now some may infer, well, you could have just moved out the way, and I would just respond back and say, you could say excuse me if it's that serious for you. You just expect me to move, and because you are some type of motherfucking king, like, or queen. Like, nobody is thinking about your ass. So I think that that's kind of the mentality and that's what happens a lot with, the dominant society and the way that they treat us. But ultimately, I think the thing that I was the most worried about in this situation was I did not want anything to happen to this black woman because of the fact that he heard a clicking noise or he heard a smacking noise. So I don't give a fuck if she was chewing too loudly, she was chewing gum, or she was click-clacking on an iPad, or she was cackling too much with her friends on the phone. I do not give a damn. You need to leave this queen alone and go about your business. That's kind of where I was at with it. And had anything had gone on there, then I would have had to step in, or I would have felt compelled to step in, because again, she was minding her own business. Now, one of the things that I noticed, and this brings me to the topic, and what I want to talk about today is a lot of folks in the dominant society were trying to well, I wouldn't say a lot, but some, because like the overwhelming majority of the people in the comments and threads were also agreeing with me that this was out of order, this was out of place, and this was out of character. And so one of the people in the dominant society who was in the thread comments, and the reason why I'm looking down is because I'm going to pull it up for you so I can actually share what was said, was trying to allude to the fact that he had, and absolutely had, they were inferring that he absolutely had a disability, and that I was missing the point of the fact that he had a disability. So I want to kind of share with you one of the things that was actually said, and I want to also show you my response, and I want to kind of elaborate even more on that response as well too. So give me 1 second here, y'all. So this one woman, this was a white woman, responded, and she said, "It's a medical disorder when you cannot bear the sound of chewing or eating. It's called misophonia and genuinely causes serious distress to people who suffer from it. Just because you couldn't hear it doesn't mean it wasn't happening." And this is what I said. I had the rolling eyes emoji, and I said, "Ma'am, you weren't even there to be speaking in absolutes. Y'all love to deviate to assumptions of disabilities to excuse the behavior. Even if he did have a disability, it is not her responsibility to accommodate his behavior. And if it was that serious, you don't shout across the room at her and embarrass her. You approach her quietly, because at that point, it's on you. Just because you want to deviate from the pattern of policing black behavior that I brought up doesn't mean that it was happening." And that comment got around 700 likes. Now, let's talk about that for a second. The dominant society loves to deviate to mental health whenever their folks do something that is either 100% discriminatory, 100% racist, or it is even covertly racist. They want to say, well, it's not the racism. It's the fact that, they have a disability. They love to kind of tack on some other protected class in order to make it seem like they're a victim of something, and it's something that is out of their control, or it's something that you should not press on them for. And there are a lot of people who actually commented too and said, if like that they either had children who had a misophonia or they had it themselves, and they would have never done that. Because the reality is that if it was that serious, it is your responsibility at that point to either quietly and gently let that person know if it's that serious that it is a bother to you, which I don't recommend, or you either just move or you just leave. And it's really just as simple as that. It is really as simple as that. The dominant society loves to deviate to little things like disability and things like that because of the fact that they believe that they can do things that are going to stop them from getting the label of being a racist. Because if you as a white person are given the label of being a racist or a white supremacist, it is the worst thing to them. And the reason why is because they know that eventually that's going to lead to hurting their pockets. That's why they act like roaches when they get sprayed with Raid. Because at the end of the day, when they get called a white supremacist, that is the equivalent of how it makes them feel. They do not want to be labeled as such because everybody's going to see them as somebody who is ethically horrible. And the reality is that they are ethically horrible. And in their minds, they don't see it that way. But they know that other people are going to see it that way. And as a result, they do not want to be outed as such. So they always try to come up with these really stupid excuses to try to, shield themselves from that. And that's why I always say, when it comes to like protected classes and things like that, there's a lot of people out there who do have disabilities, legitimate disabilities. And that also kind of throws a that casts a veil on them. And then you had some people who were in the comments saying stuff like, I guarantee you that this only happened, or they said, this only happened because it was a black woman, a white man doing this to a black woman. But I guarantee you they would not have done that to a black man. So that's one of the excuses that I hear. And I hate that shit too, because it makes it seem like these white supremacists only target black women. Black women are soft targets to them, but that doesn't mean that black men also don't get policed as well too. There was a brother recently who was getting policed because he had an egg roll stand in Missouri. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it does not matter what your sex is. Y'all can't keep adding sex into the equation and saying, well, it's race and sex. I get so sick of when you motherfuckers do that. It is a race-based issue. White supremacy is a race issue, not race and sex equally, a race-based issue. This would happen to a black man just like it would happen to a black woman. And then I also hear shit like, why are you bringing up race in the first place? And I'm like, don't deflect, because let's be real. All of you male supremacists bring up race and make it about race, as you say, you know, when it comes to the census, y'all do it when it comes to IDs, y'all do it when it comes to job applications. So who really is the one who always makes it about race? And then all I did was simply describe the people who are involved in the situation, and then y'all want to get butthurt. Fuck out of here, man. So yeah, I was hearing all types of shit like that, you know, and people were in there saying stuff like, oh, that's because it's in the South. Oh my God, this myth of the whole racism just happens in the South is some bullshit too. It happens in the North, it happens on the West Coast, it happens on the East Coast. White supremacy is global, y'all. It's national, and it is certainly global. So let's just stop acting like that. Again, I want to make it very, very clear. Racism is not a thing that just happens because I am in North Carolina. Racism happens nationally, and it certainly happens globally as well too. So that's the point that I think that a lot of the white supremacists were purposefully trying to miss. They know good and fucking well that there are white supremacists who are just like them. But they do not want to be outed as white supremacists, so they deflect and use little weaselly ass tactics in order to take the attention off of the fact that we're pointing out the covert racism that was going on with policing the actions of a black woman. So that's why they tried to, you know, move the needle on or move the goalpost on what's happening. Oh no, it's not racism overall. It's just like it's a black woman, or oh, it's a disability, or oh, you're the one bringing up race. It's always some bullshit with them. That's why I said, y'all call them out for what it is. No, none of that is justified. It was anti-black racism, and I'm not going to stand for it. All right, y'all. So other than that, that's all I got to say. I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed what I had to say. There'll definitely be more to come, so stay tuned. Other than that, I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all's night. Peace.